So Kirk talked about the functional aspects, about infrastructure and snow clearance and so forth. Our final speaker is Ben Shardlow, and he's with the Downtown Improvement District, and he's going to talk about how Minneapolis is thinking about activating the downtown and making the downtown Minneapolis much more of a winter city. So Ben?
How's everybody doing? Good. You're a very quiet crowd. Very, very polite. Ready for just a little bit more content? Okay. So, as my dad mentioned, I'm Ben Shardlow. I'm the Director of Urban Design for the Minneapolis Downtown Council and the Minneapolis Downtown Improvement District. And I'm going to use my time to give kind of a live look in, a hyperlocal look in of how I think we're doing in downtown Minneapolis in terms of being and becoming a winter city. In a candid way, and give a look at a couple of projects that have been recently designed or are being designed now that exemplify designing for winter activity, and then I'll look at kind of some of the key programs and assets and amenities that we have to build from, and then what I see as some opportunity areas. So just to do a level set on the geography that I'm talking about, the Minneapolis Downtown Improvement District is represented with that green boundary. It's about a 120 block area of downtown Minneapolis. That is the Downtown Improvement District, and that organization is funded by the commercial property owners within that district. We have a budget of about $6.5 million that we use for making downtown cleaner, safer, and greener. And then the larger orange boundary, did you call that orange? Orange-red. Is what is embraced by the Minneapolis Downtown Council in the 2025 plan as downtown, and that plan was drafted.
You need to talk toward that microphone too, please.
Okay, I can do that. So a key move in the 2025 plan was to embrace the identity of downtown as not just the CBD. Downtown includes the riverfront, it includes the North Loop, and the great surrounding neighborhoods. So I'll speak to that area as well. So the first project that is being has been designed and is being constructed right now is Nicollet. And this is a rendering of a future condition. And to the left is what used to be a department store and will be something else exciting in the future. And it's an illustration not of something, not an exact winter condition that we're going to see, but it exemplifies some of the design features of Nicollet that you'll see when it is constructed. The first, I would ask you to draw your attention to the fact that the walkway is against the building. That was a key design move with a lot of pedestrian space. In the mall, the Nicollet Mall that we're all used to, there was kind of a pedestrian chicane that you would have to do around sidewalk cafes and large fixtures and obstructions. And through some experiments and working with the designers of the Nicollet project now, James Corner Field Operations, we saw that it is true that businesses, retail operations, kind of can induce people to come inside more when those customers are right up against their windows. So in the summer, our sidewalk cafes are going to be out against the curb, and in the winter, that creates a large, flexible space for seasonal activations. So is that going to be colorful lit ice blocks? I don't know. We'll figure that out. But that's one element to note. Another is that the public art and some of the special streetscape fixtures that are being added as part of the project are really emphasizing and embracing light. After hearing Simon's presentation earlier today and kind of everyone else's presentation, I'm so glad we've got that. It's going to be lit in an interesting way. So those kind of globes that you can see on the left side of the screen are more generic versions of what are going to be artist-designed globes with local poets' work illuminating the surrounding street. That's what we're calling the light walk. On the other, or the art walk rather, on the other side, you can kind of see it. You can barely see it through the snow, but isn't it lovely? You can see these large structural steel kind of members that have mirrored fins over them with LEDs embedded in the structural steel kind of armatures. So what that means is as you're walking through it, you'll be able to see through a reflection the sky above. And from the skyways looking down, you'll see a different view of the street. So it'll be a really interesting, unique pedestrian experience in all seasons. And it's going to have programmable LEDs through the armature. So this is what you'll see in the center of Nicollet, and then towards the ends of Nicollet, you'll see some of these the same design features and elements: a clear pedestrian walkway next to the building, and then elsewhere it'll be lit in other ways, but kind of the same general idea. A lot of uplighting of trees to create visual interest in all seasons and in the dark hours, and we're moving away from hanging twinkle lights in trees because apparently that's not very good for trees, and we want these trees to do really well. So that'll be a change. Another recent project that I wanted to highlight that shows that we have been, as a community downtown, thinking about embracing winter and being active in winter is the Commons, the new park that just opened last year in the Easttown neighborhood. And this is an image of an event that happened earlier this winter that exemplifies, I mean, obviously it looks like a very nice group of people, but the key design direction that I wanted to highlight here is that I think in another era there might have been more of an emphasis in this project and in Nicollet on permanent design features, kind of key focal points that are probably pretty expensive and really beautiful to behold. But the idea with the Commons and with Nicollet is to create a lot more programmable areas that can be flexibly activated in different seasons. So it can be as simple as this area in the Commons is large enough and designed that you can bring in a portable fire pit in winter and create a gathering that's special for that context. And then in the summer, it can be something completely different. And in line with some of what the earlier speakers have mentioned, notably Max, maybe that can lend itself as we kind of grow into this new public space downtown into understanding future capital improvements that could happen once we learn what people actually want to do in the space. So that's the Commons. Next, just a few images of existing programs, activations that exemplify that we're not starting from scratch in terms of being a winter city. I would expect that many of you are familiar with Holidazzle. That's the Downtown Council's seasonal signature winter activation. It's been running in Loring Park for 3 years. There was a gigantic lit up moose this year. And it's quite publicly moved from being something where people come downtown, kind of passively watch a parade, to activating a key existing downtown public space that was not heavily activated in winter, that being Loring Park. So the festival ran between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it included food vendors, gift vendors, fire pits, outdoor movies. It kind of ran the gamut of seasonal activation. So that's an anchor in that area of downtown. Another awesome activation that happened for the first time this winter was the Great Northern Festival. And this is an image of one of the events that happened through that kind of umbrella festival that brought together the Lopet and the Winter Carnival and the Pond Hockey Championships and others that I'm forgetting. But this was an example where, I mean, it's great when you can use capital investments to create new spaces and shape redevelopments to create new spaces that are designed for winter. You can also just shut down a street and have a couple star-studded chefs come in and do an outdoor 3-course meal. There are really some amazing photographs of this. So this is on First Street in the North Loop. Another activation that happened through the Great Northern Festival that illustrates a similar thought is, I actually can't see the notes, but I think it was the Words for Winter, thank you, Lisa, in which for the first time, Nicollet as a construction site was used as an opportunity for winter engagement and activation. So what you can see here is the kind of dynamic roadside signage, which for the duration of the festival became an opportunity to show poems by local poets. And candidly, when I heard about that, I was like, oh, that's fine. And then I was walking over the Skyway, and I would look down, and it was absolutely, I don't know, beguiling. It was so cool to see it reimagined and to see some personality in a space that we're kind of just waiting to become what we all want it to be. So that was really interesting and fun. This is a video. I think the decks are going to be sent out afterwards, so you'll be able to see this. So it's an example of a full poem. Another example of a recent event that just happened that shows one of the benefits of downtown Minneapolis becoming more of a set of residential neighborhoods where people want to make their neighborhoods a better place is this was Winterfest on 2nd Street in the Mill District, and a startup neighborhood group called the Friends of the Mill District just decided, you know, we want to have a festival over here. So they figured it out, they did it, they had horse-drawn carriages, they did kind of a warm winter clothing drive for Youth Link, the farmers market was open, they worked with their local amenities, drove interest, and had many of the things that Max talked about before with good food, good drinks, and a real sense of place because it was being driven by community residents. This is an image of the first winter activation that was done for the Commons, happening at the same time as the Great Northern Festival, where the park manager worked with a local artist to create ice lanterns, and they did activations. The image of the fire pit was from this event as well. So that's my snapshot of just a few of the examples of the activations that are happening in downtown Minneapolis. I would say that I would characterize downtown as being in a transition from more of an event mentality to an activation and placemaking and engagement mentality. So I think you can see that through Holodazzle and some of the other events. But now I want to transition into talking about some of the other things, the groundwork that's been laid for further development of our embracing of winter. The development of Green Minneapolis as a multi-site parks conservancy is a really great piece of progress. The Downtown Council helped kind of foster the development and incubate Green Minneapolis, which has gone on to handle the fundraising for the Commons. And as of earlier this year, they are now professionally managing and maintaining and programming the Commons. The person who's in charge of programming the space, Amanda Wiggin, actually came from Bryant Park. She's a Minnesota native, went to Bryant Park. It's been done before. Max? And so the good news is there's a key public space that's been created, but as others have said, it's not just about design, it's about managing the space to be active in winter and programming it in a way that's inclusive and engaging and unique for that area. So Green Minneapolis is kind of a key piece, a key player, and they're available for hire by property owners to do the same enhanced maintenance, programming, and activation. The second piece of kind of groundwork that I wanted to highlight is not this planter. This is illustrating a concept. The Downtown Improvement District just 2 weeks ago created a new staff role that is being held by Lisa Middag, who's standing right back there, and she asked a question before. And the reason why we reallocated resources to create that role is because we know that just as it's been valuable for the Commons to have someone who's charged with managing that space full time, we know that Nicollet has been designed to be active in all seasons as well. So it is a big task. It's going to be a big task to activate Nicollet. So Lisa has experience from the Walker Arts Center and from Hennepin County activating the Greenway. So she has been brought on to help us figure out how to do that. Because, I think I managed the winter greening contract when we did this. I don't want to discount the importance of seasonal decorations and streetscaping, but at the same time, it was actually kind of hard for me to find bad photos of downtown because we don't keep photos that make us look bad. Funny that. But this is not a particularly vibrant scene. It feels like we can do a lot better in terms of an everyday, active, vibrant, lively space than some greening and planters. Another piece of groundwork that we're doing that can influence how we think about activating sidewalks as a key public space is a GIS tool that we're developing where we're looking at individual sidewalk frontages and using GIS to map activation kind of attributes of those spaces. So this is just an example of the block at 5th and Hennepin where there have been safety concerns, and lo and behold, 2/3 of the frontage is surface parking, and a lot of the remainder is businesses that aren't active at night. There's a quarter of the building that's active. So how can we use analytical tools to understand why we aren't seeing more activity in key downtown spaces? Another opportunity area, as Carol alluded to, is we've been working in partnership with Metro Transit to use placemaking as a strategy at downtown bus stops that lack permanent shelters and viewing that as an opportunity. So we've done a series of bus stop pilot projects where we work with artists and designers to create temporary shelters in those stops, and we're eager to expand on that partnership. Another opportunity area is, this is an image of our Minneapolis Big Build campaign. And there's a lot to look at here, but what it's meant to illustrate is that we are seeing a generational level of investment in public space and private space. I learned in our annual meeting last week that the wards that comprise downtown counted, the headlines that have been in paper are that there have been $1 billion of building permits in the city for the last, I believe, 3 years. There was like $1 billion just in the wards that comprise downtown last year. So all of those are opportunities to influence how those spaces are designed, as Simon said earlier, especially from 30 feet down to make downtown a more successful winter city. So with that, a few more parting kind of opportunity area thoughts that I wanted to emphasize. One is, I think it's really important for us to build from what we have. So this is an example of that where in past years, with Holidazzle being in Loring Park, there's been a skating rink that's there for the duration of the festival, and then it goes away. This year, this is a refrigerated rink that's staying in for the entire season. So that's a natural extension of something that we were doing already and just figuring out how to do that logistically. Second opportunity area to highlight, this is, I think, late October, so not a winter image, but it illustrates the point that I wanted to make, which is working in dense urban areas, there are so many layers of jurisdictions and players that it can be really difficult to have complete site control of any area, and it's really difficult to get things done when they're complex, especially when they're on the front page of the paper so often. But I would highlight the commons as an example of how it's important to lean into those jurisdictional tensions and challenges and push through them, because the creation of this park went beyond what was going to happen initially in the early planning stages for the Downtown East project of just a game day plaza that the Vikings were going to own, and it was going to stay vacant all but, 10 days a year, to working through partnerships that required coordination between the state, the county, the city, the park board, the developer, our office, Green Minneapolis. I'm forgetting others, but that's a lot. And by doing that, we've gone from a downtown in which people would kind of tailgate next to their cars and a few streets near the Metrodome to a big space that can work for everyday users, but it also works for creating a different experience for people when they come to events at US Bank Stadium rather. This is a Trampled by Turtles show, people using the food trucks. So I think that exemplifies leaning into those tensions and working through them, because you're going to run into them. And the work that we've done with Metro Transit on the bus stop pilot projects would be another example of that. Another opportunity area to highlight before I'm out of time is, I was trying to look for a picture where we look bad. This is the closest I could get. I think we need, thank you, Aaron. I think we really, I think it is not true that we don't, I think there's a general sense that we don't have pedestrians in downtown public spaces and public spaces generally in winter. I don't think that's true. Obviously it goes down, but there are key audiences that are still there, and a lot of those plucky people are transit riders. So there are still lots of transit riders out in public spaces, and there are opportunities to engage them, delight them, and recognize that they are us. They are our coworkers, there are visitors, so how can we create an exceptional downtown experience for them as well? So with that, my parting thought is a call to action. I would invite each and every one of you, because we are the winter-loving geeks that we've been waiting for. My challenge to you is to literally this winter go do something. Go be an ambassador for the vision of a winter city that you want to see. Don't wait for approval. Well, this is being recorded. Don't do anything stupid. Do something a little bit stupid, but go try something. Don't wait for a budget that you don't have now. Don't think about next winter. We've still got winter now. If we all go out and do just one thing that's within our power, and talk about some of the ideas we've heard today, I think we'll be one step closer to being the winter city we want to be. So, thanks.